Good day, everyone. Today on AGCP 3101, Sustainable Vegetable Production, we're going to be looking at zucchini production by myself, Josiah Monku. So let's get into it. Zucchini, also known as Cucurbita pepo, belongs to the Cucumbaceae family, which is the pumpkin, cucumber, squash. They're all in the same family. The plant looks like pumpkin leaves that grows really big cucumbers on a stem. Very interesting. The flowers look just like pumpkin flowers if you're going to see it here. So the variety I have is the Tigris F1 variety. It was sponsored by the University Field Station. Thank you all very much. The origin of this plant is Mesoamerica. Think around Mexico region, think around Texas. It's going to be right there. You're going to find them where it was originally grown. It is a warm season crop, which means summertime is the best time to grow it. Thankfully in the Caribbean, it's more or less always summertime. So it can grow all around once we plant it here. It is a dicot and it's grown from seed. It provides several dietary benefits once we include into our diet, such as adding vitamins A and C, magnesium, lutein, and other micronutrients. It is relatively low in calories and can help you with weight loss if you substitute for the right things. But let's get into the growth and well production. So our goal was the economic production of zucchini. We were given a 120 by 7-foot space of land to use. On the ground, soil test was done by wetting the soil and feeling it between our hands. It was determined to be a loam soil, and after further investigation, it was found out to be a class 1 soil, meaning the best soil we could possibly get. So thanks again, UFS. The area was plowed and rotivated by a tractor, after which we would have to manually make the beds and plant the seeds ourselves. So this is a little bit more into the production. What was done was the rotivated space of land. We were just made an estimate on how large the beds need to be based on the space we had. So we decided to go with 2-foot wide beds with a 2-foot space in between them. This was made by just moving it with a hoe. As we see here in image 1, this is the unprepared ground, and image 2, we see in the prepared ground. Right. Just a sec back here. The materials needed were pro mix and a seedling tray. The seeds were provided. So this is what we're going to look at. The seeds were planted 1 seed per hole in the seedling tray. It was watered daily to ensure the plants maintain adequate moisture. On the 2nd of February, the seeds will have emerged. And on the 11th of February, we see here the first true leaves, and they were planted directly into the ground with no further treatments beside moistening the area where they were planted. So from seed in the ground, which is 26th of January, to planting would have been around 3 weeks. So treatments and operations. On the 16th, also known as week 4, the plants were mounded up to just bring the dirt around them to make sure they stop flopping all over themselves, give them a little support, and a low concentration drench of 20-20-20 was applied to the soil around them. On week 5, another drench of 20-20-20 plus magnesium sulfate was done. As we see here, the picture in 23rd, they're looking much better. A lot more true leaves emerging, and the coffee downs would have died off. The 2nd and 9th of March, we see leaves coming to fuller size, being around a foot long, and the flowers maturing. Here we can see even one small zucchini forming off of the base of the flower. So to keep up with flowering and zucchini growth, what we would have done is added 30-10-10 on week 6, and every week either drenched or added some form of granular fertilizer. What would have also happened is the fertilizer on the plants and irrigating them every week. We would have irrigated them around 3 times a week, at minimum twice a week, by use of a hose, that would have led grass such as nut grass to grow around these plants because they were in the seed bank. So this would have been controlled by manually removing them. Here we see on the 17th, which is week 8, the 23rd, week 9, and the 30th, which is week 10, the progression of the zucchini plants. On the 17th, we would have seen several, if not all, zucchini plants blooming. On the 23rd, we would have had mature zucchinis for harvesting. The 30th harvesting was more or less in full gear. So here we see the growth from, well, weeks 8 to week 10. And well, spraying again was done on week 10 to control the worm problem we had going on. So about harvesting. Harvesting was done every week. Unfortunately, it should have been done every 3 days, but I wasn't able to harvest them. But the desired length of the zucchinis you're looking for between 15 and 19 centimeters, with the acceptable weights being 0.4 to 0.7 kilograms. Any larger, and that would have meant they began to develop their seeds, and this would affect the texture of the zucchini as well the flavor. The next graph we're going to look at is what we looked forward to in terms of the size progression of the zucchini plants and the harvest output. The leaf count skyrocketed after week 4, reaching from 5 leaves to around 25 leaves and even 30 leaves by the end of production. So you've seen the growth more or less skyrocket. Not to mention the harvesting and flowering. As I said, harvesting should have been done every 3 days or so, but given I was only there once a week, we were harvesting in 1 week intervals. And on week 7, we saw around 9 zucchinis harvested, and this rapidly increased to around 32 zucchinis by week 9. Week 10, we saw a small drop, but that's just accounted for by the zucchinis that were not ready to be harvested as yet. So if it was taken in more close intervals, you would have seen a more progressive curve. Besides that, I need to make a note that the 12, 12, 17 plus 2 was added at week 8, and continual fertilizing of drenches were carried out each week. Sometimes the delta was mixed with a little bit of Nutrex to help the foliar of the plants improve wherever there was any shortcomings. So what was the biggest problem we had would have been aphids, whiteflies, worms, but worst of all was the irrigation. The irrigation being a preventable problem. The aphids, whiteflies, and worms are more or less controlled by use of the delta. As is a contact insecticide, it was not a threat to harvest a week after spring. But what would have been done is that where insect damage was done before would have just destroyed the zucchini. So worms were the biggest issue we had. They would have borrowed through the zucchinis and made them fall off, or worse yet, made them unsuitable for sale. When I tie back to the irrigation now, most of my plants that died, which is around 15% of the plants, died due to improper irrigation. The soil was very dry. So a lot of them would have been catching the tail until it rained or until I came once a week to water them. So again, shout out to the UFS for hard lucks for not watering my plants as they said they would, but that's how it goes sometimes. So what are some value-added products of the zucchinis we had? Well, just tie back here, we had around 35, well, not even 35. We had around 32 zucchinis that were able to make it to market, right? At week 9. Some of the products we could have made from these would have been zucchini noodles or pickled zucchini. My favorite of the two would have been the pickled zucchini because I find it tastes real good in sandwiches. But how I sold them would have been unprocessed as the raw commodity, allowing people to use it how they saw fit. This gave them a lot more options, and not to mention sold a lot faster, as I wouldn't have to put out more time for processing and marketing. In conclusion, whilst production was below ideal due to the loss of 50% of my plants, we did see healthy zucchinis and commercially available products meet the market. So it wasn't a complete loss, however, it could have been a lot better. The recommendations I would give would be to have a proper irrigation system next time to avoid the plants drying up. Furthermore, the resources available, I would like to mulch the top of the soil with something organic such as dry grass or sawdust, and even amend the soil with compost. And just a small note I'd like to make as an experiment I did. Taken back to this picture here from the 17th and the 3rd. Some beds were planted with only one plant whilst two was paired together. The first bed on your right-hand side was one plant per 4-foot space, whereas the other bed had 2 plants per 4-foot space. This is done to see if production would be better with 2 plants together or single. It was found to be that 1 plant by itself was better producing than the 2 plants together. I just like to make note of the experiment I tried. But that just concludes my presentation. Thanks for watching. If there are any questions, feel free to email me. My name is Josiah Moncrief, your host. Join me next time.